Hey everybody, it's Meredith with the Mouse and the Monorail. I'm back for another fun live. Today I'm going to talk about nighttime photo tips. This is the second time I've had a request for that via Sarah. But I love taking photos at nighttime at Disney specifically. I love taking nighttime photos in general, but there's just something pretty about Disney at night. So I'm here to talk to you about what that means and how I get the shots I get. If you have been following along on Instagram, I post a lot of those photos there. And most of the time, not every night, but I try to at least most nights get a good night photo up. And the good night photos are just basically any Disney nighttime photo that I happen to have taken. All of them, unless I note on Instagram, are my own. Sometimes I'll share out some from Sarah and some from Amy. And then sometimes it's like screenshots if something fun and exciting is going on. But most of the time it's just my photography. And with the nighttime photos specifically, it's much different than your typical, travel photos, I guess, vacation photos. You don't want to only take pictures of yourself. I know there's a lot of people that probably will go back through their vacation photos and be like, where was that at? Where were we when that happened? And it's because you didn't take any photos of stuff around you. You just took photos of you and your family or whatnot. So first tip is take pictures of stuff, not just yourself. And with nighttime photos, it's super difficult to take pictures of photos of people with other things, buildings and things like that. So, yeah. My biggest tip that I can give is to know your own camera. Probably don't want to hear that. Sorry, that's just the way it is. If you don't know anything about your camera at all, that's okay. You can just Google it. Google whatever your camera model name is. You can look. I've got mine here. You can look. It's a 5D and say, okay, Google Canon 5D manual, and it will come up. It will give you all the instructions you need to know, how to work your camera, how to do pretty much whatever you want to do with it. You just have to take the time to read it and know how to work it. When you're at Disney, especially at Disney, turn off your flash. This is one of my biggest tips to you, and it will not only make your photos better, but it will keep you from being that obnoxious person that's on a ride and popping off a flash in the middle of it and not only ruining the experience, but blinding people in the process. I've had that happen personally, and it's no fun. I can't stand when people do it. And we were on a ride, and somebody actually stuck their camera out and shot it into our face because we were in the car next to them. Don't be that person. Turn your flash off. In most cases, you don't need it for any of your photos unless you have a super bright background and you have people that you want their faces to be lit as well in the photo. You don't need it. Any other time, just turn it off. Mine doesn't even have a flash. It has no flash on it. If I want to have a flash, I have an external and I'll use it, but I don't need it. I don't ever shoot with flash. You just don't need it. Turn it off. If you don't know how to turn it off, go back to the manual and you'll figure out how to do it. My biggest tip out of all of these, though, is just to practice. Practice before you go. Read your manual, figure out how to turn your flash off, and then just practice at night. Practice wherever you happen to be. With the nighttime photos specifically, there's a lot that goes into your settings, and I'm sure that's probably what everybody is here just to know. Hurry up, tell me the settings. I can't exactly do that. It's going to be different for every situation. Some night photos, even though it's dark at night, there's so many lights out there that it could be that you don't have to have a very long exposure to expose it properly. Some photos it's going to be very dark, and it's going to take a very long exposure to get the photo that you want. So that goes back to knowing your camera, figuring out how it works, and then if you still are unsure of settings, if you'll come and follow me on Instagram, I'm going to start with my goodnight photos. I'm going to start posting some of the information about the settings and how I took them to help you guys out, help y'all know exactly, how I had mine set. One thing for me when I'm shooting the nighttime ones, and this is because most of the time I am on a family vacation. I am not there with just oodles of time to set up my tripod and make this wonderful photo shoot. If I had an AP and I was living, in Florida or in Anaheim or where, anywhere close to a Disney park, I would probably be there and shoot it a lot differently. I would go and I would set it up with a tripod and do it right. But I don't have that time. I'm sorry. I'm not going to carry a tripod around the park. It's just too much. I have 3 kids now. There's no way I'm going to carry a tripod all day long just so that I can get some pretty nighttime photos. Not happening. So usually what I do is I shoot handheld, which is pretty crazy because usually you want to have your camera as still as possible and make the exposure as long as you can. I tweak it a little bit because I do have to hold it. So either I will crank the ISO up high enough to where my shutter speed will be fast enough to where I don't have to have a super long exposure. It can be quick enough to where my little subtle movement won't cause much problem. If I see where it's a darker image and I need to go ahead and expose it a little more and can't do it handheld, find something to sit your camera on. Once you get there, sit it on something and let it be still, and then just push the button as you go. That will help out a lot. That will cut out a lot of motion. Trash cans are, every 30 steps or something at Disney. They work great for sitting your camera on top. It might not be the cleanest. You can wipe it off afterwards or something. Or put something down, a piece of paper, or I don't know, whatever. Anyway, but those work great. I've done that before. It works really well. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is just know how you're going to edit your photos once you've taken them. For me, I know that I'm going to be using Adobe Lightroom, and I will be able to remove a lot of the noise, which is just the graininess, and not good grain, bad grain, that appears with the higher ISOs. The higher your ISO is set, the more grainy your image is going to be. But with Adobe Lightroom, it is wonderful for removing background noise and ISO noise and things like that. So I love using that. I know that I'm going to use that, and that's why I'm okay cranking it up. Sometimes I'll even go up to 3,200, that's an extreme case, but I know I can, and I know I can remove the bad stuff from it before I post it. So just know what your camera can do, what your software can do, and be still when you take your photos. That's the biggest things. Like I said, if you guys want to know more specifically about the settings, then be sure to follow me on Instagram. It's @mouseandmonorail. Don't forget to make sure you've liked and followed our Facebook page if you haven't already. We've got Twitter, we've got Pinterest. Sarah's doing lots of fun things over on Pinterest. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week. Bye.